All right. Welcome to the Oktoberfest podcast. I am Jeff, your documenter of the depraved. And today we are bringing you Scott Glosserman's sort of unknown masterpiece, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon from 2006. As always, I am joined by my co-host, John.
This one is entirely my fault.
Not entirely. I think we agreed.
It was my choice.
Fair. And Heidi.
Hey.
You're never going to give us more on the intro.
No.
Oh no, Decemberfest is all her.
Fair, but not too many teasers. And we have a special guest tonight. Lauren, say a few words.
Hello. I asked to be part of this just to kind of see how I would react. So here I am.
And are you scarred for life after witnessing one of our films?
I'm still deciding that.
This is fair.
We'll see if she shows up for Event Horizon night.
This is also fair.
To be determined.
Again, with leaks.
I'm full of spoilers. I can't be contained.
Oh boy.
Don't get the hype up in case
This never happened.
yeah, this year you
Just
never
build
know.
the pressure.
Yeah,
Took
no.
Silk Song 7 years.
Nobody's going to get that reference.
That's okay. I do.
All right. So, Behind the Mask, to nutshell this thing, is the story of a group of grad students who are doing a documentary of a man who says he's going to be the next Michael Myers serial killer, and brings them along on his process and tries to explain some of the theory behind why these slashers exist. And it's an okay documentary. It pokes at some tropes until the twist at the end of it, which kind of tips things on its head and takes this from being an okay send-up of genre to sort of its own unique thing. And we will get more into it in story time. The big plot points here are not that big because we are in fairly standard slasher trope fare, but the twists on it, I think, make it worth a conversation. And I think it'd be better if more people knew about this quality film. So I'm going to turn it over to John for story time and take us through.
All right. And I will probably be trying to share story time since we have such a crew today. But so the movie opens and we kind of go through pretty early on. I mean, there's a little bit of like horror trope of like, spook a young girl outside the, restaurant where she works, the diner. But then we immediately jump into the documentary aspect where our main character, Taylor, opens up introducing the documentary before they even meet our slasher, whose name is Leslie. So they show up and it's her talking about how, he is, how would you describe it, Jeffrey? Like how he's trying to go ahead and continue on or create his own new legend in the same spirit as Jason or Freddy or Michael Myers.
That's it, pretty much like that. He's planning to establish himself as the next horror legend by executing his own spree killing in this town of Glen Echo.
In Maryland. Anyway.
Maryland or Oregon?
It's Maryland.
All right.
At least according to the intro credits.
The license plates on the cars were Oregon.
It was shot. It was shot in Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least according to the film, it's in Maryland. Unless I wrote that down wrong, but I think I wrote it down right.
I'll fact check you.
Sounds good. So, they show up in front of Leslie's house, and of course he's not there. Like, where is he? And he immediately basically spooks them by like doing some standard horror tropes of like a sound over here, a window like flap going on, and before just showing up, hey, how's it going? And because he's not actually trying to kill them at this moment, he's incredibly charming, actually. He shows up and he's just like out of nowhere, and like he's laughing, he's making a joke of it, and he is really quite clearly good at misdirection, especially for the cameraman. And in case anyone's curious, in addition to our female lead Taylor, there are two people in her camera crew. There's Doug and Todd, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So they're rarely seen, at least until like the last third of the movie. All right, so Leslie invites them inside, and the interview basically starts. He introduces them to his pet turtles. I enjoyed the line of, "He only keeps pets he can eat," and then takes him to his library, which is his pride and joy. And we learn a little bit about what he's into. And we see things like the psychology of fear. We see things like practical magic, Grey's Anatomy, all kinds of things that are... I mean, what I actually really enjoy about this movie is how it takes you into, if slashers were real, like how would it have to kind of work in a world that doesn't actually have magic or possession or any of like that? Like, how would you make that work? And so all of his research that goes into that, I thought was actually pretty interesting and appropriate. Like, I'm trying to think of what would be missing from that.
No, I love the cardio bit when he was teaching him about having to stay fit so that you can do those creepy slow walks.
Yeah.
And it absolutely poses the question on if this is like predetermined and if murders and things like that are that way, or it challenges that idea of it being a spontaneous thing. It's an interesting take on it.
The amount of work that goes into preparing for one of these slasher nights is really quite insane. If Leslie's to be believed. And so he's prepared all these things. He's worked on his cardio, just an insane amount of cardio, because he has to keep up with all of this. Presumably strength training goes into that, because he
frequently refers to it as his life's work. This is his life. This is the entire purpose for his being, is this one night of action that he's been planning for untold lengths of time that can't exceed 30 years, because he doesn't look like he's very old.
Yeah, as I say, it's definitely the planning up to the moment has at least been months, and the conditioning before that has to have been years. Like the way it plays out anyway. So what the premise of it, though, is that there's this whole build-up time where we have Taylor talking to Leslie about how he does it. And she does ask the question early on, why? And his response is something along the lines, "Oh, you have to kind of experience it to understand." And so we get into that maybe a little later, but it's one of those things. The why is really quite important to at least Leslie in this world, but the how is still absolutely fascinating to me anyway. And so he goes through, and we start out with kind of like I think it was the three, or at least two first steps, maybe a third one. And the first one, of course, the location. So we stop by the location of where he's planned his nights, which is the ancestral like farmhouse of Leslie Vernon, and the story that goes with it, because there is a urban legend, so to speak, of what happened to Leslie Vernon. So we go and we visit the old farmhouse. We learn about the legend. We understand the parts of it, and we start to get a measure of how he's thinking about the locale. And he really has put a tremendous amount of thought into it, which I think is another thing that's pretty interesting. Like the symbolism of it, I'm sure people have done this to death, but the symbolism in slasher flicks, I don't think most of them really thought about it, but there's a lot of nerds in the world who have thought way too much about it.
Some of them definitely are trying to tell a message. There's more than just the surface story. You've got a real filmmaker putting effort into their slasher film, but many of them don't have that extra level. And some of the ones that we think of as the most iconic slashers did not intend for all of what came out of them. I'm thinking specifically of Halloween, which John Carpenter said, like, I didn't plan to start this wave of final girl stuff. That wasn't really... We never mentioned that Laurie was a virgin in that. That wasn't part of the thing. She was just a quiet babysitter, and this spiraled into genre-setting ideals that have sort of been spun out by people who want to put more meaning to random violence. I think it's fun to address it here.
Yeah. Well, it becomes part of like a core part of Leslie's philosophy in this whole situation. So aside from that, the other part that I think is maybe important to his myth making is his choice of cast, so to speak, in that he very intentionally chooses his set of victims. And of course, the question is, oh, you focus on the girl, and it's like, well, the girl's important, but that's not enough. There have to be this cast of characters that will all show up in the same place, most of which will die, all of which, in theory, except for possibly the last girl. And he's got his mix of like the like hormone crazed teenage boys and girls, and the stoners who will be kind of easy prey and just filler kind of a thing in his world. And you have to go ahead and have an arrangement where they'll all show up together.
It's essentially the same pantheon they use in Cabin in the Woods,
Yeah.
but a little less defined. That slasher trope of you can't just kill the same person over and over again. We need some variety here so everybody gets scared. It's not, I'm safe because I'm not a jock.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts to go into what qualifies like his girl target, and that's where the idea of the virgin comes up. And we'll get into again more of what he intends for this particular person. But
as he's explaining this, he's not showing them his prepared targets. They go to a random high school, it appears, and he's just kind of explaining what he would be doing at this stage if he hadn't already done the legwork. And in this demonstration, there's a moment that he shares with just a random girl on the other side of the street who looks over at the van that they're all in and
sees him creeping.
I don't even know that she sees him, but senses is more the thing. It's actually the word they use in there, which does sort of lead to what Lauren was saying, is this sort of predestined thing? Are these things just meant to happen in the world, of course, this is in, and is there any stopping it? It's another interesting sort of hint to that, and there's more stuff that I'll want to talk about later with regards to that. That moment I think was interesting.
It's kind of some foreshadowing there for sure.
So when we were talking about the location, we went to the farmhouse, and when we're talking about the people, we're actually in front of a school, and we're observing these teenagers or whatever on the lawn in front of the school. I guess being from Arizona, that doesn't make sense to me, but maybe in Oregon or Maryland, that is a normal thing people do.
Hang out in front of a school?
On the lawn. No, it's the grass, Jeffrey. The
grass.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of angsty teen movies that have that iconic grass scene,
Yeah, but I think those are all fake.
They're just in places where you can sit outside for more than 10 minutes without getting heat stroke.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't record them in Arizona for a reason.
Yeah, the grass doesn't make much of a difference here.
No, not so much. All right. So we now take a moment and we go back to our first kind of like, hey, you're going to be, are you in moment with the crew? Because up until now, it's been hypotheticals. And let me tell you a little bit about it. Yeah, it's the theory of things, but we're not getting into what Leslie has planned. And so this is our first moment of like, hey, you guys in or you out? Because if you're in, we're going to go meet the girl, his target, so to speak. And we're going to go ahead and show you the flyby, which is kind of almost a bit of like practical magic, stage magic here, and misdirection. And he describes to them basically the scene we saw at the very beginning of the movie, where the girl comes out, puts the trash in the thing, gets a glimpse of Leslie coming out of the shadows, and then something like closes the door behind her, pulls the brick away, and she gets trapped, like, feels that for a moment. And of course, nothing happens. It's a little bit of a tension raiser.
And this is a slasher movie staple. This is Laurie Strode walking home from school, or actually walking to school. I think she sees someone behind a bush that is walking home from school. Laurie Strode walking home from school with her friend, thinks she sees someone behind a bush, goes to check it out. There's no one there. Everybody thinks she's crazy. Of course, John Carpenter did it in broad daylight, and that makes it creepier. But this "did you see him" kind of moment, it's a part of what makes these movies, and here he is thinking along those same lines and kind of saying, well, this is why we do this.
Mhm. Yeah, to create that sort of paranoia and fear, basically. And so, and we start to get a pick behind what's actually like in his head, more than just the theory, but the reality of it. So then we get to go ahead and meet some of his mentor, really, who is a retired slasher named Eugene and his wife Jamie. And we find Eugene, go over to his house. Jamie says, "Hi, oh yes, can you go pull him out of the tank?" Find out that Eugene's been in a sensory deprivation tank for 3 days, and they pull him out, and he's a little shaky. But the why he's still doing this, even though he's retired, I don't fucking know. The reason why one might do this when they're not retired is because sometimes it's handy to be able to slow your heart rate,
Pretend you're dead.
so you can pretend you're dead, which we do find Leslie uses at some point. But then we get to go ahead and meet the, again, very charming couple that is Eugene and Jamie, and talk to them about his experiences doing this in the 60s and 70s. He does at some point. Ask how's your beer, which we all got a chuckle out from in Letterkenny World.
It's an interesting start to a movie because you start to feel like this personal connection to the characters and whatnot. And you're like, okay, I can kind of understand a little bit. You know, I would never do that myself, but I guess there's logic behind there.
They're very like, if it wasn't for what the jobs that they were discussing, like
The family business.
they're talking about work, they're talking about how hard they are, they're asking him like, oh, how's this planning and
They're-
that planning going? They're giving like business tips, you know?
Yeah, it really
They're
puts the
the-
viewer
They're
inside
sitting dinner
the.
together. It's like, you know, like,
Perfectly personable people,
yes,
just
you know,
and they're not sitting in the dark cutting up pictures and burning, putting cigarettes out in eyes. Like they are just they're folks, but they've made this decision to, and I think it's Eugene that explains that it's the business of fear. That it's the evil so there can be good. Without the counterbalance, you never have a chance to show the good, and something has to be that weight. What I think is really interesting is that Eugene says he's retired and then talks about how in the 60s and 70s, it was you came in, you did one hit, and then you disappeared, and there was none of this coming back. Well, in that case, wouldn't he retired after one run?
No, because he went one place at a time, and he didn't like leave a calling core, or he didn't create the legend around it. It wasn't his name was not associated. It was just something bad happened here, and no survivors, and then move on, kind
It
of
wasn't
thing.
mythos, it was just
Right.
bad things happening in bursts.
Right. Whereas the Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers basically created the legend version of this,
Established their persona,
and
cursed a place or a person.
right, came back year after year, and really kind of like amped up that fear, like
Mhm.
To the
idea.
point that we get Halloween H2O 20 years later, and then the more recent remakes of Halloween, where that same town is the focus of another tired rehash of characters that everybody's sick of playing. Yeah.
It is kind of an interesting concept, really. The idea, good requires evil, and we're going to go ahead and intentionally be that evil. I mean, in some ways, like they know they're the bad guys, but they also find meaning in this work.
Yeah,
Like
they seem very like
proud of it.
It's almost
Honorable
altruism
in
in their
there,
mind.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
They're doing this for the greater good. The greater good.
We may have to put that on the list.
Hot
Anyway,
Fuzz?
yes.
I haven't seen that in a while.
It's adjacent.
It is adjacent.
We could do a double feature, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
Be a long day.
But be a good day. Anyway, so they also, as part of their business planning, talk about the red herring, and Eugene gives them the idea of the librarian, which becomes our
The wife does.
Oh,
The
you're right. Jamie does.
Jamie does.
Man, I am super curious how those two got together, and I keep wondering if she's a survivor girl that somehow like
Kind of sounded
Stockholm
like that.
syndrome her way
Yeah.
into it or whatever.
Yeah. 'Cause
But
at the end they're talking and he's like, oh, you caught me or whatever.
Actually,
But wouldn't
he
that make
says
her
that she caught him.
right?
Yeah.
Which would make her
right.
the chaser. So maybe they're
Well, if
both
she
a
was the
little.
survivor and she tracked him down and caught him, which is the goal, we're jumping ahead a little bit there.
Yeah.
But rather than killing him off, found some way to reconcile.
Force him to
Get
retire.
him off
Mhm.
instead.
Yeah,
That's-
almost the entire movie I was wondering that about quite a few of the characters. I wanted to know a little bit more about Taylor's backstory as well, and just have a little more
Yeah, how
character
did she get in
development.
touch with this guy who's going to kill people in the first place?
Yeah.
Right, and why was she interested in making a documentary about it as well?
Well, to be fair, journalists are crazy. They'll do anything for a story. Jeffrey was a journalism major, for those who are not in the know.
It's really fascinating. Work the industry.
And put in the shoes, would you pursue
I mean, no.
something of this nature?
Actually,
I mean, if
I'm
we're
sorry,
gonna.
Jeffrey
but
has
just
more.
stop sooner.
Yeah, Jeffrey also has more judgment.
This is
He's not the 20-year-old college student anymore.
also, I'm free to make my decisions, and it didn't always seem like these people were. Again, things I want to bring up later once we finish story time. But
Okay. All right. We'll continue on then. All right. So we also learn a little bit about the red herring. Yeah, because of course one of the first questions is, okay, so what is that? At least my notes indicate it's kind of like an early indirect strike to go ahead and again not actually go after the person you're going after, but make them afraid.
Now, I have an issue with using the term red herring for this, because red herring already has a fairly established meaning as a mystery trope, which is the person that you think did it but didn't do it. They're a fake lead, they're a red herring. If it's a red herring that they're looking for here, it should be somebody else that you're setting up to look like the fall guy and not your first victim. This is a warning shot more than a red herring. It's a semantic problem, but I'm all about semantics, so I'm going to take issue.
An alternate take might be that the red herring is who the intended victim is. Since
Perhaps.
right? And so Kelly. So Kelly is our target. I think I may not have mentioned her name yet. Kelly like sees this go down, but like later on, she doesn't really have the paranoia of one who believes they're targeted.
Which would make it an ineffective play for what he was intending it to be. If his intention is to bury this paranoia in her, then
Yeah,
this is a misstep.
Yeah.
It-
indeed. I see your point about it being semantically the wrong term.
I mean, she shows up to work the next day as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, like back
She's a
to
little
life as
rattled.
usual.
Yeah, she did look disheveled though, like kind of, a
This is true.
little like
No,
and
we're-
she kept like looking out the windows and stuff.
Okay,
So
but we need to
should-
back
we
up.
should have
we
kind of
do need to back up. We skipped the important part.
We totally skipped some important parts. So let's go back into this. So Leslie goes ahead and shows a newspaper article that he has found, and we find out is in fact
John just did air quotes.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Audio medium.
Audio medium. Anyway, found and is in fact CGI generated, where it's an article describing a piece of the Leslie Vernon mythology and implying that Kelly's great uncle was the one who had raped his mom and et cetera, et cetera. So right there's the CGI article that he puts together, and when we say
What's CGI?
he CGI'd her face into a man's face so that
Thank
it
you.
looks there's less.
familial resemblance.
Thank you.
The article is actually printed on paper. It is not itself bad
No,
90s
it's like-
CG, which he CGI'd an article made me think of. And
This is not current day with LLMs and AI. In any case,
So
he also stops them before he gets any further. And this is back to our do or die. Are you guys out? Because this is about to get real. He's about to go after his first victim, which is kind of a pretty important turning point for our documentary crew.
so
Of course, they opt in because why wouldn't you? Otherwise, it'd be a boring movie. he sets up this whole scene where he drops the article where hopefully Kelly will find it, and then has already swapped the microfiche with the full article where the librarian would obviously take her to find out the details if she asked. And the only two people in this library appear to be the librarian and Kelly. So we've really constrained our options in this case. And once they opt in, great. Kelly does in fact find the thing, goes straight to the librarian. It works exactly as he has described and planned. And when they go over, they see the microfiche, and she reads the story of Leslie Vernon. She reads the story of her great uncle,
Her fictional great uncle.
fictional great uncle, and the librarian, who I will note is one like 4 foot tall. She's incredibly short.
The librarian is Zelda Rubinstein, who is famous from Poltergeist, where she was the medium who exorcised the spirits partially from the house and helped them rescue Carol Ann. That role helped Zelda Rubinstein show up in a lot of things. She is one of 4 people in this movie that have really ever done anything outside character work.
And I will note has a super creepy voice. So
Perfectly cast, yes.
it is very well done.
There was a TV series, and this may or may not make the cut, that I watched while we were in college. I believe it was on the Travel Channel. It was something like Most Haunted Places, and they would send people and challenge them to go and be alone in haunted places. Zelda Rubinstein was the narrator of this show, and there is a line that made me laugh for a decade. I forget what the guy's name was. He says, "Meanwhile, Eric has gone from bad to worse." And it was so perfect in Zelda Rubinstein's creepy rasp. It stuck with me for a very long time, and I need to try to dig that show up.
I love it. I love it. All right, so we've gotten our super creepy librarian, who also tells the story in an incredibly creepy fashion without hesitation, basically.
Somebody needs to tell the story. We've been referring to the story in the article, and we haven't actually given any details there. Who wants to tell the story?
Who can do the best Zelda voice? I think Heidi's got the highest pitch, so I'm.
Who remembers the story?
I think I've been talking too much. I need somebody else to step in here.
Okay. So the myth of this city of Glen Echo is that there was this girl, there was a bad thing happened to her, some R-word stuff, and
Non-consensual coupling.
yes. Happened to this young girl. She then gets married, and like the way that the creepy lady librarian said was like they were a beautiful couple, but they kept to themselves. And 9 months later, there was a baby. As you can imagine, baby came from the tragedy, and so the parents were unkind to this kid. This kid who was Leslie Vernon. So, they treated him badly. They made him sleep in the Apple House or something. Was it the Apple Cider House? The Cider House, yeah. So he had to. So they like locked him in there, and whatever. We were fine.
Hold on, this is a horror podcast. You're glossing over people torturing a child. This is a
that is a line for me, sir.
Take this down.
I mean,
Just gonna say.
We're not going to go into great detail. They didn't in the film.
They were not nice. If you would like to add some details, go for it. I'm paraphrasing.
They made him work the fields without end with a hand scythe.
Yeah, that's right.
They made him sleep in a dirty cider house. They didn't treat him as though he were their child. They treated him as an unwanted thing.
Yes.
Because he was the bastard child of this non-consensual coupler that the news article that Leslie has concocted labels as a relative of our hero girl.
Of Kelly, of the target. So boy grows up a little bit, finally gets sick of the abuse, and he uses the scythe that he is made to tend the fields with to kill his father person. And does he bury his body in the bog, or did they say anything
Yeah,
about that?
I think he puts the body in the apple orchard in the
In the
apple
orchard,
orchard.
yeah. And then goes back in for the mom, and she ends up getting hanged in that.
I believe she's hanging from a tree in the orchard.
So, and then I guess the city folk find out, the townsfolk find out about this. They are not pleased. They go, they attack him, they bite his hand, and they throw him off of a waterfall.
This has been Heidi's gentle euphemisms about horrible urban legends.
You know, you asked me.
I did.
It's your fault.
It is.
So he allegedly drowns, and the farm falls into disrepair, and and I don't think there was any like hauntings or anything like that they were talking about. It was just kind of like
So they mentioned that
the urban myth.
There's the myth that if you walk out in the orchard under a harvest moon, you'll get stuck in bloody mud. And if you listen closely, you can hear his mother's body swaying in the breeze. And so there are the scary legends of this abandoned house that kids still probably go out to hook up because it's an abandoned house in a small Maryland town. What else are you going to do?
So one thing that I think is particularly entertaining for me is that Zelda also tells that they never found the body because it was eaten by turtles.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Which is a weird detail.
The water was too cold and it was eaten by turtles.
Yeah, the bodies don't come back up when it's that cold, and his body was picked clean by turtles.
By turtles,
which again is a weird thing for a librarian to go ahead
the turtles. That was the thing, though. Is like now he's going to eat the turtles. So
it's revenge.
We did find out why he does turtles, I guess. All right, very good. So, right after Zelda tells this wonderful story, Leslie Vernon shows up immediately behind her, and then Zelda
runs her
dies.
through with a break.
I think he uses the scythe.
Oh, it looked like there was like multiple poke holes.
No, it was a different one.
That was different.
Oh, okay.
He just shows up behind her with the scythe and his creepy blue baby mask.
Yeah, he's got a fun. I thought it was more gray, but
looks like blue-gray.
Anyway,
that was a good color.
So he shows up and kills the librarian, and basically spooks our survivor girl. But we get an important new character shows up and shoots him, and this is Doc Halloran, who is what Leslie calls an Ahab. So Doc shoots him and shoots very close to Kelly, kind of irresponsible, like gun ownership there. But in any case, Leslie, flips around, shows up somewhere else, gets shot again, and then disappears and shows up back at the van, incredibly excited that he has found an Ahab.
Now, I want to interrupt here for just a minute because at this point we have met all of our actors who have been in something else. And so I'm going to identify the three that I haven't. Angela Gethels, I suppose, who is Taylor, was one of the kids at the beginning of Home Alone. She makes fun of Macaulay Culkin before they all disappear.
She's the one that calls him
Les Incompetents. Yes, or we. Doc Halloran is Robert Englund, who is quite famous and shows up in quite a few of these because he is Freddy Krueger.
I didn't know that, really?
Yep, he is Freddy Krueger, and because of that role, he shows up in a ton of low-budget horror films because he is celebrity in these circles. Scott Wilson is Eugene. He is probably recognized by the most people for being Herschel in The Walking Dead.
One of these days I should watch that.
Probably. He runs the argument farm that is the entire second season where it's just a bunch of people on a farm that complain at each other while there are some zombies around. But Eugene sticks around for some time in that show. He's quite good. He shows up in a lot of other stuff, but that's probably the role that most people would recognize him from. And then, of course, there's Zelda Rubinstein, who I've already talked about. Outside of that, these other actors have been in like single episode runs on TV shows, mostly CSI, because everybody plays a corpse on CSI, and nothing else. Even surprisingly, Nathan Basil, who is the lead, Leslie Vernon, who I think is pretty good in this,
Yeah.
reminds me a bit of James Roday, who's Sean on Psych. There's some charisma similarities there between the two. It surprises me some that he has not done more, but yeah, that's my interlude to identify some people that our listeners may actually know.
Fair enough. Right.
So an Ahab.
What's
an Ahab?
What's an Ahab? Because man, Leslie is excited about an Ahab. As is Eugene and Jamie when they
As is Taylor.
Well, Taylor gets caught up in the enthusiasm. Oh, he's so excited. Why is he excited? This is great. It's more or less how that happens. Because he's like, okay, cool. What's an Ahab?
They're both jumping around the parking lot like they Rick Snooters in the tush.
A little bit. But his excitement, like it's hard to express. He really is very charismatic, and like his excitement is infectious. And like if he wasn't clearly about to murder a bunch of people, like
You'd really be pulling for him.
he is not unlikable. So many of your bad guys in these movies are unlikable. And they're done on purpose that way. He's the opposite. He's extremely likable. He loves what he's doing. He's motivated. This is super important to him. And he's not like misanthropic necessarily. Like it's weird because his whole philosophy is almost based on the idea that this is good for people to have this fear. So anyway, we because of course Taylor has, despite her having no idea what an Ahab is, we have a little bit of like, so what is an Ahab?
Okay, sorry, another small interruption here because of semantics. Taylor is a journalist. This means that she's read things. This means that by context alone, she should understand what an Ahab is.
Right.
I guess this is true. However, the jargon of this particular industry is fairly specific.
I suppose after red herring, it could be anything.
Exactly. What does an Ahab mean to Leslie and to Eugene, right? So they describe a Ahab as the reflection of all that is good, as kind of an opposing force to the evil they represent. And so it's exciting for them because I think it adds to the legend and becomes an important counterbalance. Like they're all kind of about balance, weirdly enough. And they feel like they need to do their evil in order to balance the good and to create more opportunities for good. And Ahab also kind of almost builds into the legend. We also learn that Doc Halloran in particular is a psychiatrist that knew Leslie before he was here doing his thing. That's about the extent of what we find out at this point. But Taylor decides at this point that she needs to violate one of Leslie's golden rules here, which was you don't talk to Kelly. There's a hard rule, non-negotiable, must be. And of course, she goes into the diner where she works and prepares to go ahead and talk to her with her cameraman holding the camera under the table, I guess. Like nobody notices these things.
Oh, and they say I just need to ask her. But ask her what? Like, what do you ask this girl who doesn't know that she is facing impending doom? Like, what are you going to take away from that?
I mean, like, there's a lack of forethought. Because she also doesn't get any questions out. Partially because Doc Halloran shows up, sees them, and like confronts them. But also, I don't know if she knows what she's going to ask.
I think this goes back to something that Lauren hinted at early that I think I've referenced back to, which is it does seem like some of this is predestined. She needs to have this scene in the diner where the next exchanges take place, because if that's not there, then the story itself that Leslie is orchestrating doesn't happen, that the universe seems to want to happen doesn't happen. Like their choices are not seemingly entirely theirs, not just because movie has to happen, but because within the reality of this movie, reality has to happen. Yeah, I can dig deeper into that as we go on, but this is sort of what I'm building to.
Is he projecting?
Is he projecting?
I mean, is he adding more to your thoughts than you had, or?
I mean, I don't think so, but I think that was kind of my big, or like one of my bigger themes throughout was like, is this free will? Is it predestination? And who's partaking in that? Like, is this partially Taylor? Is this partially, all Leslie's like pulling the strings from behind the scenes? And I think as we get further along in the movie, some of those questions are, I mean, answered in an ambiguous way, so it also still leaves it up to the viewer to decide. So continue with the story. So maybe a little bit.
I'm just curious. I mean, Jeffrey's read a lot into it. I'm just curious to see if he's in the same space you are or not.
I mean, I definitely have comments, but we've got to finish the rest of the
You
story
don't have to
before I
finish the story. You can go ahead and comment as they happen.
Well, I think as we get further along, obviously, the dynamic shifts quite a bit because the viewer is starting to think, like, who is the innocent or the savior girl per se, and that shifts very dramatically. There's a dramatic shift at the middle of the movie, and that's kind of when
until we get to the reveal.
Fair enough. I just feel free to interject as it becomes relevant. You're absolutely able to jump ahead a little bit because we're not good at linear stories in this podcast.
And I think, we're almost kind of segueing into the part where we find out, at least in the beginning, when I find out that this horrible tragedy happened to Leslie and things like that, it provides so much context. Like, oh, this makes sense why he has this whole grand plan and this is his life's work. But at least for me, there's, we find out some things about.
You might as well continue. What does Doc Halloran tell them in the diner?
We basically find out that Leslie is not this urban legend, that he's a mental health patient. And at least I have some personal feelings about that because it kind of lost me there of like, man, like, I was just like, okay, you're kind of a weirdo now. Like I at first I kind of felt this whole, I don't know, arc to his character. And then it just immediately boom through the movie or through this part. And I think that's also when things get kind of interesting because you find out like quite a bit. Everything you thought is wrong. So,
and to go into more specifics, Doc Halloran mentions to Taylor and her film crew that his name is actually Leslie Mancuso, and he knows him from Reno, Nevada, where he was his psychiatrist. And so that's interesting.
And Taylor reacts much like I think Lauren did, which is, well, what are we even doing here? Is this all just bullshit? Are you just crazy? Like that takes so much of the meaning that you've been trying to establish out of this if you're just some lunatic.
Right. And when they, she immediately more or less loses her nerve and like pieces the fuck out without even talking to Kelly about anything. Finds Leslie waiting at the van, which is a VW van.
I'm pretty sure that's why they pieced out so quickly. She looks out the window, gets very nervous, and they rapidly exit the joint because she sees Leslie hanging out with his VW bus, which might be their VW bus.
Yeah, he had a fucking Prius.
Yes, he did have a Prius.
Yes, he did.
I mean, look, he's trying to save the world. It's consistent to his character.
And of course, Leslie's pretty upset because he knows exactly what they were doing in there, and gets violent towards Taylor when she mentions Reno.
She gets aggressive verbally towards him, and in an instant, that killer we've only seen hints of, aside from a mostly off-screen murder of Zelda Rubinstein, instantly comes out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten who we're interviewing here. Come on.
And at this point in the movie, we kind of had. We're so used to him being this
Nice
sort of
person.
jovial weirdo, but not a bad guy.
And super charismatic. Like,
Charming,
he's super
sociable.
charming. Yeah.
like
You root for him in some instances, and they kind of do too. It's pretty clear that they're, even like, it's exciting, and they're not really putting together like the human deaths that are about to happen.
Or that have happened.
Right, and like they're not really up close when I think Zelda dies, so they don't really get that. And
They film it in the library because they get the Ahab. They've got the footage of it they're showing to Eugene and
but they
Jamie.
don't get the gory like front, like she falls to the floor,
Right.
and like it's still the kind of death that you can kind of almost pretend isn't real.
Right, it's still a movie death at this point.
Exactly.
Right, like it's just something that it's just special effects, it's just smoke and mirrors. It's not reality yet.
Yeah, it hasn't really hit them. But anyway, so we get a glimpse of the real Leslie, and so
The other Leslie.
Sure, the other Leslie. He promises that he will tell Taylor whatever like, the truth when they get out of the situation, right? Because they're still basically in public, which is not really a great place to have this conversation.
Have a conversation about the serial murders that are intending to.
Right. So when she does get him back, or when they she agrees to get in the van, they get back to wherever the fuck they're going. And they do have a conversation. He does confess that Doc Halloran was his therapist in Reno, so he does tell the truth about that. And he also confesses that he set up Doc Halloran by putting a restraining order on him, so that if Doc Halloran reports him, he's going to get arrested. So kind of puts a little bit of a bind on him. But also, this is another like go or no go decision for them. Like, hey, like, what are you going to do? Like, you know more of the truth now. Are you going to stick around for this, or are you out? Because more to come. Because we have more movie, obviously they stick around. So one thing that I think maybe I have glossed over ever so slightly is that this whole thing has been in a documentary style, which is and college level documentary style, which is to say we have microphone, we have your host, and we have more or less handheld cameras. It's not shaky cam like Blair Witch.
They are wobbly.
But they're handheld. They're clearly like not professional filmmakers necessarily. These are college kids effectively doing it from a style perspective. I only get there because I actually wrote my notes here, but whatever.
There's actually, so just as we're getting to this next scene, there was something that popped into my head, which is we see Leslie hanging out at the Vernon house where everything's supposed to go down, and it's like hazy out, and somebody's filming him, and then you see the van pull up with, I believe it's Todd and Taylor in the van, and as they're getting out and approaching Leslie, you can see from Todd's camera that Dougie is already there, meaning that they dropped him off. They went back down to the end of the thing so they get the shot of pulling up. We're in college making a documentary. We know we need to get this shot, but we don't know how to hide the cameraman from the reverse shot kind of thing. And this is what I'm here for on this podcast. I watch these movies, so I know enough lingo to point out when they are doing this. I think this is intentional by the filmmakers,
I think so too.
And I like it as a touch too badly made
Documentaries
and horror films, because you get this in both places.
right.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. All right, so we shift over, and they decide and they show up at the Vernon house, and we get a walkthrough from Leslie of his plans for the big night. And he starts to go ahead and go through some of his rules, the important parts. Very important, for example, that he knows where everyone is at any time, so that he can kind of plan his moves. He doesn't like being stuck in the house because it limits his mobility. Because again, he's got cardio advantage on pretty much all of these people. So having the ability to run and show up at places matters. But we also learn about fun things about how he has prepped the house, how he has sawed off or partially sawed off limbs of trees so that they will absolutely break, or that there's no escaping places. We've learned how he's rigged the windows so that they don't go through them, or they can't go through them.
Oh, so they can't open them. But don't they break them out? He says, well, you'd think they would, but they don't.
They don't unless it's on the second floor, and then they
Yeah.
like which I think might actually be his exact words. Then they're fucked because on the second floor, he's already saw their way down. Like there's no way out of that. And so
Now, there's an interesting film change here. We've seen all this through documentary style. It's just their two cameras. But as well as Leslie's telling the story about what he's going to do in this house, we start seeing what would basically be reenactment, right? Like we see the kids coming and hanging out at the house. They're not actually there yet. This is shot with a different camera. It's not it's not grainy. It's not shaking. It's a much cleaner shot. And you're seeing these murders as he has them planned taking place as he tells the story throughout the property.
Yeah, but we also learned some more about his ethos, about like the safety of the closet, being kind of like in the womb, so to speak. He's real big on ionic energy, as he explains, as the opposite of boy parts. And so, going through all these like the places that are safe, like the womb, the places of transformation, or like the birth canal, etc. Like he's got this whole like philosophy of how this comes together, and I'm not into this genre enough to know if like this is where the nerds went when they decided how like horror movie works. But like it's plausible.
As far as I'm aware, this is not an entirely common thesis. This seems to be something that I'm sure this isn't the only place that uses this type of thought, but it's not the whole. It's not the majority of them.
Okay, well. I mean, the survivor girl and final girl idea is definitely a common one.
That is consistent, but the yonic imagery, the making it about genders, Taylor calls him out for being pro-life and chauvinistic at times during these interviews, which he glosses over, not wanting to engage in that because I don't think that he thinks about the greater meaning of either of these things. This is just, this night is what it is.
Yeah. And it is. And I guess it's that question of like, is it a real philosophy or is it just justification? And I don't know. But there's other stuff like about his general strategy. We do learn about the serial killer strategy of, again, the mobility. They whittle it down to just the final person, and how much he puts into preparation. He's got the lights on the switch for the house, so he can go ahead and trigger a blackout. He's replaced all the flashlight batteries with dead batteries. I mean, he has rigged the possible weapons to break at the first strike. I mean, like,
I have some questions. This is an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere that's been empty for 30 years. Why are there still flashlights and tools? I mean, tools maybe are not spending that much time out there, but why would anybody leave flashlights? And why would they know where to go to look for them when these kids don't live in this house? Like, it seems like leaving flashlights there in the first place is unnecessary.
It's fair, but those flashlights were from the 70s.
So he didn't even have to replace the batteries with dead ones. They just be corroded shut. I understand they're showing the preparation, but this seems like it's an unnecessary step for an abandoned house.
I was thinking that too. I was like, we're worried about the batteries at this point?
Replace the kitty litter. Like, come on.
Right. It almost makes me wonder how much joy he gets out of setting it up versus the actual
It's a lot.
act of it. And so I think, I don't know.
Makes it the opposite of this podcast. There's no joy in setting it up.
2 fucking hours trying to do mic tests. Paying for the internet doesn't fucking drop.
Y'all got it in an hour this time.
So better.
New record. For fuck's sake.
For fuck's
sake. Anyway. So the other thing that I think is relevant to his philosophy, however, is that it's really important to him that the survivor girl, whoever it is, it's a moment of empowerment for her to effectively defeat him. So this is an idea I had in the middle of the film, was that in order for his legend to work, he has to be defeated. So and in so, like, the survivor girl transforms into our heroine, whatever it is. This is kind of an interesting like part of his mythos, I guess.
Not necessarily. The survivor girl can defeat him. That is what he sets up. But the legend survives, whether that happens or not. There has been, I've been calling them tragic horror. I've encountered a lot of it this year where there are no survivors. Everybody dies, especially prevalent in the post-found footage era, where you don't need a survivor to tell the story because their cameras are doing it. And in this case, you've got a perfect setup for that because of the documentary, because you've got these people with cameras on site. At this point, this can go either way.
Yeah.
Because the recording is enough to keep the legend going, even if no one survives the night.
That's fair. That's fair. Still, it seems fairly important to him that like the survivor girl has the transformation from victim to agency and hero. Right?
Whether she wins or loses is less important than that she makes that transformation.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if it's my generation or anything, but I'm still kind of wondering why the virgin piece of it
Why that's a thing.
creates her to be this, if it's just that kind of iconic symbolism of innocence or what it is that has to go with that transformation. But I think that there's something there for him because I think every 20 minutes he refers to there needing to be a virgin. So
It's a slasher trope that I think, and I may be wrong, but was definitely popularized by Halloween inadvertently. But after 1979, it sort of became a thing. And they talk about it in Scream with, you can't have sex. Like, it's the moral component of these slasher films is if you're not doing drugs, if you're not drinking, if you're not having sex, then you can survive. But if you do all these things the bad kids do, then you're out. And it seems like they're trying to sort of elevate that here and give it more meaning. If you're pure to start with, then you can be, then you're kind of corrupted through it. And what you were when you came in isn't what you are when you leave. But in order for that change to be meaningful, I guess you have to start from a place of actual good. But actual good in this context is being a friggin' Puritan.
So we do learn about his kind of like his plan, how he's going to control the people in the farmhouse through fear. And like he's going to kill them, yes, but he's also going to effectively control them, and their fear is going to make them predictable. We do get the advice of from Eugene at some point of what should you do if you're ever in this situation. His advice is to run, don't stop, don't look back, and like just fucking take off because you're not going to look like what you see. You can turn back, and if you're in a group, hope that you're not the slowest. So,
Do you think that Eugene and Jamie knew like his bigger plan and that they
Yes.
gave them like false information for that running away?
definitely. Well, I mean,
Well,
like,
no, I don't think they were giving them
definitely
false information, but I do think that they knew what was coming.
but they knew that she was the survivor girl from the beginning. So, spoiler.
We're nearly there, so we may as well drop it.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, and it is like we're really right up to the moment, and it's just like he's so excited. This is his Christmas. Like this is like his happiest moment is to finally execute on his plan of murdering a bunch of kids. It's it's something. So we get in there, and it's the time. We're in the farmhouse, and Leslie like jumps through the window, and there are 8 kids in the house. We're ready. It's time. He stole the spark plugs out of their car, which I think was actually out of the van. The reason I say that is because at some point they're like, the tires are all slashed. Yeah. Anyway, so he he does that. The mask goes on, and it's on. He does his first 2 kills, and they're still in the house with him and starting to freak out a little bit. And he takes them out of the house because he sees that look. I've got to do something. And
We
he's like,
can't
"Yep,
just let this happen.
can't just let this happen." And he's like, "Well, you're out. We're done here. Let's say my goodbyes because we're not going to see each other again. Like either I am in hiding, I'm dead, or in jail by the time we're done with this. So later, guys. It's been great. Handshake, hug, and we're out."
Gives them an out.
Right. He gives them an out, and they can just peace out and like pretend this never happened. But of course, the look was right. And Taylor finds she can't just let this happen.
The guys are surprisingly okay with letting this happen.
They don't want to die. And they know that they are no match for Leslie Vernon or Leslie Mancuso, depending on your framing.
I know which camp I'm going with.
Which camp is that?
Get the
Get
fuck
out?
out. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, look, discount Chris Farley and the nerdy kid who couldn't grow a full beard. They're not going to fight off the psycho killer.
No.
So maybe go and get help. Yeah.
Which would have been a nice, reasonable alternative. Though, to be fair, everyone would be dead by the time the help got there.
You know, you can at least report something. But yeah, you could have done that at any point leading up to this. Also,
Right.
I mean, we had cell phones in 2006. They can
had the
get out
phones,
in
but
range
they didn't have
and
signal. You know, but yeah.
We
get
did
in range and be
clarify.
like, yeah.
But by the time a cop gets out there, it's
Mm.
probably too late. But also, you know what night this is going to happen. This guy's been telling you for weeks. You are now fully culpable in this legally. Because,
Accomplices, effectively, because you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
You knew it was happening. So
I'm not a lawyer, but
yeah.
if we had any listeners, I'd say that a lawyer could send us just exactly what they are liable for if they let all these children get killed and knew beforehand.
Now, one thing that is interesting as part of his goodbyes, he does make it very clear that, like, this is not, like, this is my choice. I'm doing this on purpose. This is not anything else. Like, I am in control of my actions. This isn't something, right?
No matter where I started, I'd end up here, I think is
Right.
what he says.
Yeah. So regardless as to whether or not he was actually Leslie Vernon or somebody else who decided to become this.
So there are two things there, though. The first is he has decided to do this, yes. But also, as he says, no matter where he started, he ends up here.
Mhm.
So he's choosing this, but also he feels like this is his destiny from the get-go. Like, this is what he is meant to do. He feels it in his blood.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So like there's no dissuading him. Like this is his deal. So at this point, power goes out. They see the next phase of the plan that he has like described in great detail to them, and we hit decision time, where of course we can't just let this go. And the whole Taylor decides this and effectively pushes the like, hey, I'm going back in for this, and pushes the film crew to go with her. And they're, of course, like, no, bad idea. In fact, one of them does say, this is a bad idea. Given where I am, I really regret that phrase.
Now, you say she pushes them, and she quite literally pushes the camera down, which marks the big shift in the film. We are no longer watching it through grainy, shaky, handheld cameras. We are now watching this progress through real cameras as an observer. We are now third party.
We've left documentary land, and we are now into horror film territory. And so this is, I think, time-wise, about 2/3 of the movie in. Yeah, I think it's about where I clocked it. All right, and so Taylor goes in, and they have the idea how we first got to go ahead and inform Kelly because we still believe she's the target. This is a problem. We find her just fucking the hell out of some other guy. And they're like, well, clearly that virgin thing is definitely not true.
like riding him like a mechanical bull, holding a shirt over her head, swinging around like a lasso. This ain't her first rodeo.
I
That's
think
free.
I think it's reverse cowgirl.
Sure.
Yeah, like I just that's not a first timer going on.
Page 37 in the Kama Sutra.
Yeah, and the boys clearly recognize this. Is like, nah, man, there's no fucking way that one's a virgin.
And they watch for a good 15, 20 seconds before somebody notices and yells at them to get out of the room. Which is also probably not the end of my response to that situation. Who are these old people that I don't know that seem to have been stalking me that just broke in on me having sex? This seems like it elicits more than just a get out.
not.
She said, "Get the fuck out." So,
Okay, the profanity makes it enough. I mean,
it helps.
there may be a murder in there that Leslie doesn't commit, is what I'm saying.
Right. All right. Well, I want to take a quick pause. Do we want to transition story time since we've transitioned portion of the film into from documentary to actual horror film? I think it's a good Lauren, Heidi, you want to take over?
And he's busy drawing mushrooms.
They're really cute. I just didn't want to interrupt the. I didn't want to interrupt the podcast.
I don't know. I think it
Anyone
might
else
be
want
Lauren's
tea by
turn,
the time?
Because I talk too much of these damn things. So I need. This is a good transition point. Somebody walk us through. This is start from when the film changes from documentary to now Taylor's taking initiative and going and trying to stop Leslie from doing shit.
Yeah, I mean, please insert some things that I miss, but she basically rushes in and comes in and is like, there's no time to explain. There's just this grand plan, and you guys have got to. I mean, she doesn't really say what they have to do. She's just like, you have to come with me.
You're all gonna
And
die.
so you're all gonna die. You
It's
have to
just
come
the
with
worst
me.
thing to say in this situation. There's no time to explain. Do what I say. There is time to explain. There's
Yeah, there
absolutely time to
actually
explain.
is, because she corrals them into one room, and basically they're all just like trying to wrap their heads around this. And for me, some of the reactions were just a bit out of the ordinary. Like, some of the people were like, I just need to sit down and process this. And like, I just, I don't know if that's the time to
Maybe
do
if
something
someone
like
Process
this.
it in the van on the way back to town.
Maybe
Right,
if
like, I'm
someone's
just
telling
like-
you that like you're in danger and you're gonna die, maybe you should,
Nobody thinks, let's see if we can find some way to defend ourselves in this house. At no point does defend ourselves even enter the conversation.
No, none of it. I mean, it's just kind of a Twilight Zone where everyone, to me, it was almost discombobulating to watch. I'm like, so what's gonna happen? We're all just gonna kind of sit here like sheep and wonder,
I watch a lot of horror movies too.
No, I don't. And so, I mean, this is part of my initial introduction.
I mean, there's something to be
It's a
said.
weird introduction
So-
because it's such a meta film. It relies so much on genre tropes that are sort of established, these things that always happen that you sort of expect to happen.
Hmm.
And without a background in it, I can only imagine how lost some of this must seem.
Yeah, or just not as intuitive as you might think. Like, and if I was put in this situation, I don't think this would be the reaction that would
This
come
is
to
the
mind.
joy of horror. I
which
do
is
this better.
which is interesting.
It always makes you feel better
Yeah,
about your
yeah.
own life choices.
I mean, yeah, and so they're all just kind of basically having a meeting, going back and forth of like, oh, so what's gonna, like, asking Taylor and things like that, and she doesn't really give clear answers. And
I mean, it may be important context here is of the 8 that showed up, 2 are dead, 2 are just completely blitzed out of their fucking minds. 2 are probably downstairs.
3 are
And-
dead.
Sorry,
Well-
3 are dead. One is a panicked woman, and the other one is like as far as who we've got left.
Right. And so that's where, like, a little bit comes up, and Lauren runs up, and she was downstairs doing her thing with another man or boy or whatever, and she's like, he's dead. And so they're just like, oh, really? And it just doesn't have that quite oomph there of like, someone's just dead in the basement.
Well,
So-
I mean, one of the I think that's the unstoned guy, like implies that it's a big joke or something, or like it's not true. And it's like, well, that's probably not the right reaction.
I would like to point out that the 2 people that we've referred to as the stone guys are actually credited as stone guy and slightly more stone guy.
Is this in the
That's the
credits?
official
No.
credit
Yeah.
of the stone guys.
We never get a name.
They don't have names. They're stone guy and slightly more stone guy.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, that tracks, right? Like, I mean, that tracks.
Yeah.
I mean,
That is exactly who they are.
That
This
is-
is their role to play in this film, in this reality,
That
in this
is
film
great.
that is reality.
For them.
Right.
So I forget exactly who dies next from there. So if the so the stoners are gone.
They
I
go
mean-
they go to the tool shed.
Oh yeah, they go to the tool shed. Even the one is looking around for his friend after, and he doesn't even let out a scream. He's just confused.
Yeah.
So I mean, at least he,
Probably didn't feel
didn't
it.
have he didn't have to face the fear per se. So
I'm gonna say that was the slightly more stoned guy. I don't know which is which.
I don't know.
I mean, I was amused that one of them saw Leslie Vernon in the tool house. Is like, this scarecrow is fucking killer.
I'm gonna put it in my room.
yeah, like
I think he might have been the slightly more stoned one. The one that went in there.
Yeah.
The one that stayed outside maybe had a monic.
He was smart enough not to go in the tool shed.
And still got his heart ripped out with a
Post hole digger.
Put him to his hand.
Try me.
Thanks, Leslie.
So anyways, we pan back to the house, if I'm correct, here. And okay, someone's gonna take it over because the order of
they decided at that point to go to the van and get the fuck out of Dodge, where they find
The van won't start.
Yeah.
and they also
they're-
find 2 dead people.
Oh yeah, they find the dead
Oh,
couple
yeah.
that he killed in the first place.
Saran wrapped or whatever you
Whatever
use.
set up. Yeah.
And yeah, so they're trying to start the car. And I don't know, and of course, in my mind, take me as someone who doesn't watch horror movies that often. They've spent a good amount of time trying to start this car, fully knowing their tires are slashed.
Well, the tires of the other vehicles. This one wasn't.
This one wasn't. Well, either way, we full the
You
car
can
is
assume
not-
there's. They've been going around with Leslie this whole time. You can assume that they would, know that your car is sabotaged and to maybe let that one go.
I mean, we commented this a little bit during the film, and it is remarkable the speed at which Leslie moves bodies around.
Yeah.
Like, because he carries multiple people and stages them in different places, because not where they died, like several times during this whole thing. Like, his cardio really is fucking top notch.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
continue
true.
on.
We go back to the house after that.
Mhm.
And is it at this time that we find out everyone's kind of mad at Kelly and it's like, hey, you're not a virgin. So what the F is gonna happen? Like, if she's not a virgin, what's gonna happen here? So the
And then
survivors,
she jumps out of a fucking window.
yeah. So the survivors basically get in a tussle and she jumps out of a window. So
Breaks the second floor window and tries to hang onto a branch, which we all know Leslie has sabotage. Falls to the ground and it's done.
right. I think at this point, Taylor is starting to realize, oh, like what he knew the entire time, this and that. And so we kind of get another, like, it's not directly said, but a glimpse that perhaps this was predetermined the entire time. Perhaps Taylor was the survivor girl the entire time. And so she's like, wow, he found me online. And everybody else is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Um,
that's 2006.
mhm.
Sorry. My timelines are shit.
You
Yeah.
already graduated from
I was
college.
gonna say, whoa, dude, no.
Jeffrey, I once told someone I was a year older than I was.
It wasn't just someone, it was everybody all day.
Yeah, for my birthday, I think it was.
That's
I got it wrong the whole fucking day. So I'm real bad at time.
I had a
And
friend
on the
who
side of older?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know I was wrong. Until
you know
someone
you were
pointed
wrong?
out the math. And then I was like, ah, fuck you, right?
Until I told you that that's not how old we are.
Yeah, exactly. I did the math wrong and just kept that cash all day.
It's a good
I
thing
had
math isn't
coworker
part of
who
your
did
job.
that. Yeah, I had a coworker who I asked, like, what's your birthday? And he was like, oh, I'm turning 26. And it turns out I was turning 25. And he kept saying this to me for like a month, like, oh, I'm turning 26. Like,
Yeah, you do the math once and you cash it. And if nobody calls you,
Or you just know
Like,
how old you are at
know.
any given time.
I don't do that. I do the math.
You
every
have
time.
to do the math every
I don't
time
do
to
that.
know how old
He's
you
got to
are.
hold his hands up and know right from left.
This is true. I have mnemonics. They work.
We haven't done that movie yet.
Johnny Mnemonic or yeah, anyway.
Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic.
Anyway. What?
I still just can't get over that you don't know how old you are. You have to do the math.
It really drives home the point that the story arc.
Here's the thing.
Like I just
I'm a first principles kind of guy. If I can do the math, I don't need to memorize the fact.
how can I not know?
There's only so
Because
much.
I know what letter
There's
comes
only
after
so much
C.
You have
room
to
in
look-
there.
do you have to look up your birthday?
Priorities change.
No, I have my birthday memorized. That's why I can do the math.
He has to run through the whole alphabet song to figure out what letter's next.
Oh, I kind of have to do that. and don't ask
I
me.
was going to cut this. Now it's staying in.
Don't ask me to do that shit backwards. I will fail.
Oh, sobriety test.
Could never.
It's not even a fair test
No.
for someone.
Yeah, that one's bullshit.
No.
I'm with Heidi on this one.
Okay.
It's a singling list, linked list.
I feel like we really just sidetracked there from the grand revelation that Taylor is making in the barn.
Well, so
yes.
we skipped over Todd running.
Oh,
yes.
oh. Well, no, please, because clearly it didn't
Register.
register.
So at this point, they realize
Do you
that
know
they
how
are.
many notes I have?
John has written down the entire script on an iPad.
Yeah, for seriously. I am
See,
intimidated.
He has
And then
notes
this
right
one's
there.
over here like, I used ChatGPT to surmise my notes, so I had talking points. And I'm like, I wrote 5 things.
I didn't write anything down.
I know I'm
It
doing
just
story
articulated my
time.
thoughts better.
Wow. Damn.
I know my job on this podcast. I must take notes, or I'm not going to remember what fucking happened.
So they've now realized that they are spotted. They've attempted to get to the truck and they failed. They know that they have to find some way to disrupt the plan that Leslie has laid out here because he's covered so many of the angles and because he has the advantage here as this is his sole purpose. And so Todd wants to throw a wrench in things. He says, you guys get away. I'm going to go running this way. And Todd, who looks a bit like a young Chris Farley, as in not a guy who's in shape to go running, runs into
It's
a
not kept up with the
boggy, muddy field, which he very quickly gets stuck in, as he was told would happen at the beginning of this film. And Leslie comes out taking his time because his prey can't move. And Todd's like, hey, man, it's me. It's Todd. And takes his mask off. And so Leslie,
caresses his face.
the Leslie that he knows, is the one that's killing him and not the creature that he is pretending to be in this moment. He's not wearing the mask. He is just him, unburdened by the character, ending this guy, as opposed to the part he's been playing for the rest of it. And it doesn't really buy them much time. And the people who know the plan is to keep them bottled in on this freaking farm don't run off the farm.
I mean, it's one where Todd does this because he knows one of Leslie's rules is there must be no survivors, so no one can get away. And
He does chase the doughboy, which I appreciated.
but I think his compatriots there missed the memo of that means you run the opposite direction
And
Yeah.
don't stop
Right.
running. Don't
Yeah.
make
Give the
Leslie
first
choose.
Mhm.
No,
Make
'cause
Leslie choose
yeah,
because he
'cause-
can't catch both if you both run the opposite direction.
Right. And he made that
Mhm.
choice. He was like, I'm doing this. Like,
It was a
Right.
self-sacrifice
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
But
that his friends completely wasted by just finding the first building to bunker down in, which is exactly where he expected them to be.
This is also, now back over to Lauren, where Taylor realizes that she was the survivor girl all along.
Right. And that isn't directly, pointed out to the rest of the people who are involved. It's just kind of an internal realization that she has. It's not a dramatic shift or arc or anything like that. It's just a very slight, conversation she has with herself. And then we move on to, at that point, I think they moved to some barn, if I'm correct.
So
if
they're
I
in the
remember.
barn.
In the
and
barn.
she's having her
Right.
She's
epiphany.
having a little
Right.
meltdown.
So then I think it's her partner, and she's with 2 people already. One of them gets, runs up
Alive.
to the rafters and, stuck in a rope. And
Well, we
You-
missed one part. Doc Holleran shows up.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I think someone needs to segue
Okay,
back.
so
Okay.
so they run to the barn after Todd sacrifices himself. They find a structure that doesn't go anywhere, that isn't all that secure, that they know he has already tampered with, and expects them to go to. But they still hide out in the barn, and then they hear noises. And so finally, somebody grabs something to defend them with, and
Shovel.
it's Doug who grabs a shovel, and a door opens, and Doc Halloran sticks his head in, and he gets brained with the shovel and has CTE, which is going to make him a not very effective psychiatrist. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I guess his profession is.
yeah. So then I think they see Leslie standing around outside. The the jock guy runs up a thing and gets impaled and hung.
No, it's the girl gets
The
impaled.
girl gets impaled, and then the
Doc
guy.
follows her, not realizing she was impaled.
This happens after the discovery.
Oh yeah.
Because those two are alive when they figure it out. So they're upstairs, they're talking about what to do. I think Halloran hasn't shown up yet.
No.
And Taylor is realizing that it's been her all along. She starts just kind of curling up in a ball and not talking to people and crying in a corner. And it's one of the girls from the group of teens who says it's her. She's the virgin, and now her wardrobe choices make sense. And
Wasn't really paying attention to what she was wearing.
a lot
I'm gonna
of
be
turtlenecks
honest.
and heavy sweaters and stuff. When everybody else, all the other girls are wearing like short cut skirts, they're all kind of slutty. Like it's just sort of the vibe that has been there through the whole thing, but you're not supposed to have your eye drawn to. And if you don't watch a ton of these, you're probably not picking up on it. But
Sure.
like Jamie Lee Curtis is all bundled up in Halloween while her friends are running around in skirts. Like it's another one of these inadvertent tropes that sort of got picked up that I don't know that I picked up on the first time I watched this film, that she was always so long sleeves and turtlenecks and yeah. But she realizes that from the get-go, when she was contacted to come and do this, she had already been chosen. He had already spotted her and said that she was the goal. And that's made pretty clear through the rest of it. The whole Kelly thing was the red herring. That was the ruse. She was the false target, and the rest of them are just there to pad the body count. And yet, knowing all of this, they still continue to play out the rest of his plan exactly as he laid it out. She knows where he wants her to go. She knows that he has sabotaged these things. She doesn't use any of this knowledge to subvert the plan that was laid out for her not an hour before. She instead just follows the blueprint. Like she has to follow the blueprint. She walks into the apple orchard and is spinning around holding an axe. Like she has decided to face him, but she is facing him still on his terms. Like this is playing out on rails because there's no choice to not play this out on rails.
Well, yeah, I think part of it's too also the commentary. Like when you're in that adrenaline rush, it's, whatever almost doesn't matter. Like, I mean, because she knows better in all of this. She knows exactly what he wants. She knows where she's supposed to end up. She knows he's sabotaged things, and yet, that's not at the forefront of her mind because what matters is survival.
But survival doesn't lead you into the worst possible place to stand because you can't tell where anything is, and he knows the space very well. Like, I'm going to go into that crazy copse of trees where I can't escape.
I just mean that there's a certain amount of
I think the subconscious mind is
more aware than that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
subconsciously, that might take over. So if that was in there, that plan, she's probably not consciously thinking she's following his plan.
Maybe it's because I'm a contrarian by nature, but because you told me to do this thing, I am doing the opposite.
I guess there's a difference though when you're in that level of adrenaline rush. So speaking, I know this fucking movie, but whatever. I'm projecting here with the idea that if you're in a complete fight or flight, your higher brain functions don't work right, man. Whatever almost doesn't matter because it's not going to show up unless you're primeval, lizard brain thinks it's going to matter for this very moment. And it's not a very, like, your lizard brain's not smart, man.
But she continues to overcome it a few seconds too late as this plays on. So she grabs an axe out of the tool shed that she knows he's sabotaged. Just one axe. There are a bunch of different weapons in there. She does. She goes into the back of the place to grab a weapon instead of the ones at the front that he specifically said. But you still got to assume, now that you know that you've been the plan the whole time, he didn't tell you everything.
Yeah.
But she grabs an axe out of a room full of sharp objects and runs around trying to find him in the woods. And he shows up behind her and she whacks him with the axe and he falls down and she drops the axe handle, which is still a nice piece of axe wood. It would be better than nothing. And then she thinks for a minute as she's walking away, stops, she picks up the handle, and she starts to walk away, and then she turns around because she knows better than to leave him there, but it's too late because he's disappeared. Now, that means that she is thinking. It's just on a delay. But she's also not seen Zombieland because double tap. You were correct.
Definitely.
So Leslie's disappeared. He's not laying on the ground in the orchard anymore, but she knows where he's going. She ends up at the cider house, which was set up earlier. There's a cider press there. And now we're suddenly seeing things through his viewpoint. We switch again to a different camera style. We are watching through the eyes of Leslie as he's looking around this.
Right. Because he follows her into the cider house.
Right.
And now we're Leslie.
And in a dark corner, something heavy comes flying out and knocks him on his ass. And there's some wrestling on the ground. And Taylor grabs his hand sight from his belt and stabs him in the side with it and stuffs his head in the apple press and starts to crank it to the point where he is fully stuck. And he takes his mask off and he starts to say something, and she stops cranking this press to listen. And he says, "It was always you." And she screams and gives it a final twist to break his freaking skull. And then, having learned some type of lesson from the previous, grabs some gasoline that's been laying around that probably still wouldn't be good after 30 years in an abandoned shed, and dumps it all over the place and lights the place on fire and has a very Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta moment of screaming in the rain where there is no rain, but still the screaming and the flexing and the rebirth moment in that film is sort of her moment here. We discover that Doc Halloran and Dougie have survived.
Because Doug just got his head smashed against the wall. He wasn't like actually murdered, which is convenient.
So they can be concussion buddies.
He's probably also a virgin, so it works out.
Sure. My guess is that doesn't last more than 2 hours after they find a hotel room at the end of this. Because this is just too dangerous. We got to fix this situation right now.
Definitely, for sure. No hanging out with virgins. Another one of Eugene's.
Yes, one of his tips.
Yeah.
And that is how our movie closes. And then we get a shot of a morgue as the credits roll. And we just see a mortician kind of doing his thing. He's doing paperwork, whatever. Credits are rolling. Talking Heads Psycho Killer is playing. Great way to end the thing. It's going to keep people listening. And the mortician goes into the back room and he pulls out a gurney and he pulls it off and there's a black figure on it. You can't really tell who it is. Grainy footage. And as the credits come to a close, the black figure sits up and turns his head, and we know it's Leslie. Despite having his head crushed and being set on fire, he persists.
Well, and we also know, because Leslie told us, that he has put on like stuff on his skin that is flame retardant and prevents him from bleeding. Or
Well, yeah, he was giving makeup tips.
Yes. One thing that I will also note is there's a certain point at which Taylor takes off her coat, and like that's almost a transformation, an intentional scene of like, I've decided I'm going to go beat this guy, as opposed to running. Now she's fighting.
Right, and that's she's grabbed the axe. I think at that point,
I think she took off her thing first, and then went and grabbed the axe.
And then she's standing there like John McClane in a white tank top and having her action hero moment, and showing off she's kind of ripped. And
I mean, there's also like after she hits him with whatever and knocks him on his ass, the 90-pound girl goes after and tries to wrestle with the
Yeah, with the serial killer who moves 300 pounds worth of meat to a van without anybody noticing. Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, that was
One of Eugene's tips: don't try to fight us; you'll lose.
Yeah.
But she has this intrinsic ability in that she is the survivor. She's
fighting.
She's supposed to be able to find a way to fight. It is a given there. So my theory sort of from this, and it may be more than the filmmakers ever intended, because maybe it's just because it's a play on other horror films, but it feels like so much of this is sort of on rails. It's forced to happen for movie to happen, but within the reality that these people are living in, where killers like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and Freddy are real, maybe not as mythological as they have been shown. Like maybe Michael hasn't actually been shot, stabbed, buried, brought back to life by lightning. Maybe Freddy isn't actually haunting people's dreams. Maybe, Jason isn't whichever version of Jason they decided to use any given time. Actually, it was Jason who was brought back to life by a lightning strike. Yeah, that's why I'm here, because I've watched all.
This is your game, buddy.
But in this reality that they are existing in, where these are people, it seems like this type of slasher crime is a thing that is actually happening and is sort of destined to happen. It chose Leslie as much as he chose it, and she was chosen from the start, whether he made the decision or not. Like it's irrelevant, because within the reality that they are in, this has to play out this way. Much like Cabin in the Woods presents us with these situations where they stack the deck. This is sort of how this thing needs to play out for this greater power in that movie. Here, there's never, talk of the greater power, but it is the greater good. It is creating the evil that good can stand against, creating this fear that drives people to be, in theory, better. Which is, there is sort of that moral component that comes out of so much of this era of, this is sort of talking 80s, 90s slasher stuff that it's playing on. And I do think that's interesting from a theoretical standpoint. On top of it just being a fun meta slasher movie.
Yeah. I enjoy it because I think Leslie is so charismatic that it gives you a different perspective on it. And I just enjoy to go ahead and make it practical how one might actually become a slasher, because like any of these movies, it's impossible what they're doing, and yet it works for the movie and makes it spooky. What if someone actually could do that? What would it take for someone to really become the slasher? And I like that
maximum effort
exploration of the fiction, I guess.
I think it poses questions on like the roles as well, of like, are these just roles that people fill in these horror films, or are these do people choose their fate, or are they roles that people fill, and there's just these dynamics that constantly swirl and swirl around?
I think that just to this film, these are roles that are tropes. These are common used things within horror movies, which is sort of why I see this as a fictional reality that is sort of embracing this trope to a degree that we don't in actual reality, because we have many more layers, right? Like the nerd is not just a nerd when they go to school. The Breakfast Club roles are not the entirety of who we are, which is sort of the point of the Breakfast Club. Is that how you are slotted isn't the entirety of what you are, and the role that you fit in any social situation isn't the entirety of your role. Whereas in horror, because you have an hour and a half with these people before they get axed, they have one characteristic, and that's all they're given, and that's why you're stoner guy or slightly more stoned guy.
This is true, and I get that. I think it's just interesting with Taylor because she's given a choice. She's multiple times given a choice.
And every
That's
time
what I'm
she
getting
says,
at.
let's keep going.
Exactly.
And
So
we should show you Cabin in the Woods because there's a lot of that comes here. They have to choose to transgress. They're given multiple warnings to not do the things that cause the events of that movie to unfold, and those events need to happen for reasons, but it has to be the choice of the victims to participate, whether they know what they're signing up for or not. They still are choosing to keep going, and so she's presented with all these times where she can opt out, where he's encouraging her to opt out, where he shows her the other face and slams her against a van, and maybe when the textbook domestic abuse cycle shows up, you should just take that red flag and get the fuck out of Glen Echo. But can you if your reality's on rails?
I mean, I don't know, because yes, it's like, "Do you wanna keep going?" And so at any point in time, she could've just been like, "Yeah, I'm going out," and then it would be so.
I mean, I feel like she's given at least 3 or 4 distinct opportunities where he explicitly is like, "All right, this is your choice.
This is your last
Like,
chance.
opt out now or don't." But, this is about to happen, and, the more you commit, the more you commit, you know? It definitely happens, 3 or 4 times, and she doesn't decide to change her mind until the very end, where she becomes the survivor girl, which it was his plan all along. And it's just like,
Do you pull the prank on the girl at the diner? Sure, you pull the prank on the girl at the diner. Do you go into the library to place the microfilm? Yeah, sure, maybe you go into the library. But the moment he's taken a life and you're still excited and going back to his serial killer buddy's place to talk about it, I think at that point you've crossed that
yeah.
this is just a fun story kind of line, and you have
You're
you
in
have
accomplished
you have opted
territory.
in.
Yeah, you're in accomplished territory. It's the kind of thing where even if they had gone to the cops instead of trying to stop him, like they would likely have been accomplices in any trial that shows up. No one would have let that slide. You knew he was going to do this. He told you. He literally murdered someone, and you didn't call the
He told
cops.
you when, he told you where, he told you how, he told you who, and you told nobody that could stop this.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mm.
It's the kind of thing where they definitely opted in multiple times. But she succeeded in her transformation, I suppose.
and look, grad school is hard, and you need that credit.
Yeah, you do need that credit. I'm just curious to see if the documentary did well.
I'm not sure that anybody was allowed to edit it. She was definitely the on-camera personality, so
Well, I mean, Doug survived.
it's true.
That too.
But his brain was scrambled by that hitting the wall.
He's fine. He's fine.
There's modern healthcare these days.
We're good. I mean, Doc Halloran technically survived as well.
He did.
Though he got stabbed, I'm pretty sure.
Uh,
Doug just got his head slammed into the wall. But it's fine.
trying to remember what did happen to Halloran.
He
did get attacked in
he was
the.
holding the scythe or whatever. And I think Leslie overpowered him basically. But it was a gentle overpowering, not a visceral thing.
This does bring something. Visceral is the right word. I had noticed through watching all of this that while there are a number of kills in this, they're never really graphically on screen. I think the most graphic kill that we see is the post holer.
Yeah.
Guy gets his heart removed, but it's almost played for comedy because he said exactly what he was going to do, and because after your heart gets ripped out, I'm pretty sure you can't hold it because you won't have enough pressure to
yes.
operate your muscles. But even that is cartoony in its effect because he's holding it, because he puts the guy's heart in his hand. I watch a lot of this and I see a lot of much gorier kills. The majority of this is really tame, and I think it's because they're not as much the focus as the story. It does keep the whole thing a bit lighter. If they went fully dark in that last 30 minutes and did some real, cannibal Holocaust nonsense where it's just too gross for words. If they're trying to Terrifier 3 it, it's going to break what worked about the first half of it. Even as he's killing these people, you're still remembering the charismatic guy that you knew before, and you're kind of hoping that his plan goes off because he put so much work into it. Like, it's horrible. But as the audience, we're also sort of agreeing to still be there, right? And
I mean, I think I'm still the entire time I was still wondering, like, what is the system of his plan and like how did he so I think I was still stuck on questioning his whole entire plan rather than focusing on the gory bits of it
Yeah.
anyway. So
which there weren't many of.
Yeah.
no.
I think that's
No.
one of the reasons I actually like this one is that there's not a whole lot of gore to it, and I'm not a gory person. It's not a thing that does it for me. So, like, I think one of the reasons I like it is because he is so charismatic, and because it's more about the story than it is about necessarily like the violence of it. Like, it's just such an interesting. Like, I love the behind the scenes of it.
Yeah. Wait till I show you Cabin Fever. I'm not going to make you watch Cabin Fever. Eli Roth movie about a group of people that get a flesh-eating disease and melt in cabins. It's disgusting.
I don't need to see that. Thank you.
It's not pleasant.
Opt out.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think again, for me, what is so compelling about it is that one, he's clearly a sociopath and he is so charming about it, but also the craftsmanship that goes into it and the effort that he puts in and like
Commitment.
it is and like there's such just like the study of like how humans behave under fear and under pressure and how you use misdirection and people's attention to go ahead and like amplify that, right? And in a lot of ways, like, hey man, if someone wanted to do this on purpose, if Leslie Vernon was real, or like the Leslie Mancuso, if you will, like, yeah, man, that's actually like not a bad way to go about it. Like knowing how people do it, planning just in
But
explicit
these days,
detail.
they do it with ChatGPT. Most of it would be wrong. And then the whole thing would just be a shit show.
Well, remember though, 2006. No ChatGPT
No chat.
existed. So like he had to do
They're still using
some homework.
microfiche and card catalogs. So
Like, I mean, he had to do the work, and like the work he did was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like people did behave, like he correctly predicted the behavior, pretty well. I don't know. And like honestly, when you get down to the way people behave under fear, not terribly unreasonable.
Well, and it takes to Unbreakable. It's Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson. And spoilers for a 20-something-year-old movie, Sam Jackson has been orchestrating mass death accidents to try to find this foil to him. He breaks an instant. So he theorizes that on comic book theory, there has to be somebody who can't break. If he's this broken, then there has to be the hero that's the counterpoint to his villain. And so he's trying to find Bruce Willis by rather ingeniously orchestrating plane crashes, train derailments, just these mass casualty events. And his logic and the work he puts into that is genius, even if the motive for it is insane. Or anti-social, at least.
Yeah.
This from the person who was, they weren't very nice to my kid. They were mean to the boy.
They were mean to the boy.
As I say, I feel like we haven't heard much from Heidi.
No, I was about to say that's proof that Heidi's still with us.
I'm listening.
You're recording on this cast. They're listening.
This is a podcast. You're supposed to be talking to.
I chime
You sure?
in. Yes, I've been chiming in.
Do you have any
I
style
was
notes?
a peanut gallery.
Huh? No, you're the storyteller in this.
It's supposed to be the quiet one.
You got to practice that peanut gallery. It's like I need to remind you how it's done.
There's going to be another murder.
Sure.
It's gonna be mine. If I die, Heidi did it. It's fine.
I mean, that's got to stay in now for legal reasons.
Definitely. I give permission for my murder.
Turtles will pick your bones clean.
We have turtles.
That's
You
our
guys have
receipts.
frogs in your pool.
Javelinas.
Javelinas.
Javelinas is what
Javelinas
it
will
would be,
get
right?
you. I have my own pig farm in the back.
I saw some in the morning too. There's a whole families roam around.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They fucking steal my front door rug.
I thought you said they eat it. I thought you said they were eating it.
They were.
They've eaten our cactus.
Yeah, I have to. I can't put anything on the front porch because they get into it. I've been eating through all of our agaves.
They're the worst.
Destructive little fuckers.
Babies are kind of cute. I took a video.
Get too close, mom and daddy will rip you up.
Yeah, they are so mean.
They're not kind.
This has been the Oktoberfest Wildlife Minute.
All right. Well, I still enjoyed this film. I do think it's a little underrated. IMDb shows something like a 6.7.
Aw,
Which,
mean.
I mean, it's positive, but I feel like it's a little bit closer to maybe a 7. Like, it's not necessarily the most amazing thing ever, but it's definitely worth watching.
I would probably give it a 7 as well because I just kept wanting some originality from him rather than him just going by the book and what all these other great
You're
serial
not the
killers feel. And yeah, I was just kind of wondering, like, are you really just, how do I put this? Like, are you doing this for the joy of killing people just because that's what you do? Or are you just setting all of this up because you want to be like somebody else? And now I understand that that's part of it, but I wish I would have seen a little bit more of his own shine through, perhaps.
I
But
think it's a fair criticism of the film because you can't expect everybody to come in with, 30 years of horror movie knowledge jammed into their rotting brain. You got to expect that people won't necessarily get this unless you spell some of it out for them. And while it's kind of lame to spell everything out, you can lay more groundwork if that's what you're going for. So if you didn't get all these other pieces, it's because they didn't put them in there, and that's on them, not on you.
Well, I guess the other part is like if his goal is to go ahead and continue in the vein of the other greats, in the genre, which it seems like it is. He's trying to go ahead and start his own version of a Jason or Freddy or a Michael Myers. You get it, but I guess the originality is in how they tell the story, not necessarily in the story they're telling.
Yeah,
I guess.
that's a good way to put it.
I guess so.
You want to weigh in on the rating, Maddie?
I would give it. I don't know. I would give it like a 7, 8. Definitely not as bad as.
What's the Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, IMDb.
I don't know.
Yeah, what is Rotten Tomatoes?
Worth looking up.
Fact check.
$76 on Rotten Tomatoes, which
Oh,
is pretty good.
that's not
76
so
tomato
bad.
meter, 75 popcorn meter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give this. I have given this an 8. I come
Yeah.
back to this. I think there
Then
is.
have a visual of what comes from your brain.
We can get it on the cameras.
I think there's
I was
enough
quite
in here
tickled the first time
that
I'd seen
is
it.
worth rewatching. I've seen this many times now. I pick up little details every time. This time, Heidi pointed out there's a couple of girls in white dresses playing jump rope in front of the high school, and that's a Nightmare on Elm Street reference. There are little details hidden in this movie that are hat tips to other horror films in the casting, in the setting, in the rest of it. It's clear that this was made by people who love the genre, and they leverage that. And if you are a fan of these movies, I think there's a lot to pull from this. It's sort of a different spin on a familiar story.
One that I did enjoy, I took a moment and went through the IMDb trivia page. But Doc Halloran is a direct call out to The Shining, with both Doc and Dick Halloran as kind of it's like a mixture of those. So I was like, wow.
I was going to point that out. Actually, yeah, that's
mean,
Halloran as a
Something like
thing.
that. Yeah.
I don't know if Collinwood, which was Zelda Rubinstein's character, is supposed to be a reference to this, but the Collinwood Sanatorium is a thing that has been referenced in several movies.
Mhm.
May or may not be here. It's full of these things. Apparently, this movie did run in theaters, 72 of them, for less than 2 weeks. It made 113,000 in inflated adjusted box office. It was $69,000 about its box office run, which, given this was probably a festival run rather than an actual release, a wide release would be like 3 or 4,000 theaters. You're not going to see big numbers from it, but it's clearly something that did not get a lot of marketing, and I think is relatively unknown outside of people like me who watch too much of this nonsense.
Enthusiasts. you will.
Sure, lunatic,
Yeah,
sickos,
that's what I said.
sickos. Outside of sickos, I think that this probably doesn't get as much attention as maybe it deserves, because everybody does a good job in their roles. It's shot very competently. It is a real movie, which is not something I can say about a lot of what I watched in the month of October.
I particularly enjoy the documentary stylings of it for at least 2/3 of the movie, because it's still more competent than fucking Blair Witch. And I don't know why, but I think that I saw that in theaters and I did not care for it. I thought it was fucking stupid.
It is
And
aggravating.
like their version of that preserves the theme, but still makes a competent narrative.
Was this
Yes. The found footage genre as a whole it sort of spans, and I've made you guys watch some of the other stuff, but I think Grave Encounters I made you watch. That one's actually got some creep to it. People in an asylum making a ghost haunting movie or TV show that.
I feel like we watched that one.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I watch that most years. Wait till I make you watch Hell House.
Heidi's against asylum anything.
Oh, Hell House isn't in an asylum, but it is spooky. But
hospitals, no asylums, no dolls, no clowns.
No possessions from you.
I was gonna say, you're just going making like Jeffrey's.
yeah, all these are making the list.
No, I will be absent from those days.
Only if you know it's coming.
I'm going to tell you that we're watching something else. And by the way, we're going to watch
I can
this now.
still leave.
Not if
Still
I'm
draw
tired.
mushrooms and put her AirPods in.
What?
You could still just draw mushrooms and put your AirPods in.
I thought you said something about taking mushrooms, and I was like, I do that, and you put on a fucking clown movie, like somebody.
Yeah, that would probably that would mess you up
Like,
for a
no.
long time.
No, thank you. Like, oh shit.
I think we have to go ahead and like get to a thing where like whatever Heidi's decided to fucking Google throughout our podcast shows up on our
It's
Substack.
not. It's the monkey brain thing. I like it helps me focus.
I'm not criticizing. I just need it
Oh.
on the Substack.
We do have a place
Figure
for
it
this. Yeah, I'm still waiting for an alien.
Oh yeah, I gotta drop that in. I
Super
got
cute.
derailed a lot this week. Okay, it was not a very productive week.
I wasn't worried about the week. We're just talking about the last 4 hours.
He was talking about the last drawing, the last
The last
doodle.
episode.
The last doodle.
Well, have we not hit on anything? Does anybody have more to add or discuss on this one? Yeah, so that's our take on Behind the Mask, the rise of Leslie Vernon. If you haven't heard of it, I hope you'll check it out. I think it's worth knowing. Yeah. Have any thoughts on it? Feel free to reach out to us, octoberfestcast@gmail.com, or check out our Substack, octoberfest.substack.com. And thanks for listening. Till next time, keep it spooky.
Bye.